Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, and this is your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're here live at the World Trade Center in Seattle. We're going to be talking about everything that is edibles today. It's day one at HempFest. I've got some amazing guests, starting with Dan Devlin of Zoots. Dan is a co-founder of Zoots, maker of a handcrafted small batch treat made with premium infused cannabis paired with unique blends tailored to your interests, desires, and intentions. Their zootologists carefully extract the essential oil of the cannabis plant in a contaminant-free environment using their proprietary cypress extraction method. The closed-loop process captures THC using organic cane alcohol and a cold fusion process, so you can be assured that each serving is consistent. And while everyone experiences cannabis individually, Zoots is about having a good time without feeling uncomfortably stoned, which is what sets Zoots apart as a purveyor of fine cannabis edibles. And Zoots was recently acquired by Washington-based Ionic Brands for a total of $11.6 million. Ionic, with a market cap of about $16.5 million, trades on the Canadian Securities Exchange as IONC and on the over-the-counter OTC markets as IONKF. Dan, thanks for being here.
You bet. Glad to be.
Remotely with us is Bob Eschino with Incredibles. Bob is co-founder and president of Medically Correct, whose trusted brand, Incredibles, is known for having the most consistent and award-winning infused products in the cannabis industry. Bob is responsible for the company's sales, marketing, and national expansion. As founding member of the Edibles Council through Cannabis Business Alliance, the Colorado Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, and the Colorado Cannabis Manufacturers Association, Bob has helped shape the next wave of cannabis rules and regulations for the cannabis industry federal level. Medically Correct prides itself on helping educate the public about responsible edible consumption and the emerging cannabis industry. Bob, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And also remotely is Patrick Ian Moore of Edible Magazine. Patrick's the editor-in-chief of Edibles Magazine and the chief operations officer of Edibles List Manufacturing and Distribution. He started out as head dispatch at Speedweed and went from there to be working as a product development and marketing specialist at W Vapes. The edibleslist.com is a source for information and reviews on medical marijuana edibles, dispensaries, doctors, and all else in the legal cannabis community. Edibles Magazine is a source for credible and relevant news with everything related to the cannabis industry. Their mission is to help medical marijuana patients locate smokeless medication alternatives. They want to help get the medicine in the hands of the patients they need it. They connect patients, vendors, and dispensaries, and patients can now save time and money locating their favorite edibles and new consumable products while being able to rate and review, adding their valued option to our online community. Staying tuned for their best of Edibles List awards, and stay tuned for the topicals, tinctures, and other awards that they have. So Patrick Ian Moore, thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much.
Following up with that, there's been a lot of M&As that we've seen. Molson Coors Brewing, joint venture with Quebec-based Hexco. Canopy Growth hired Martha Stewart for CBD edibles. Constellation Brands and Canopy Growth had a $4 billion investment. Anheuser-Busch and Tilray got in the game. They're all looking at CBD beverages. And so, Patrick, are you seeing
firing any of those people?
Yeah, they did. Canopy got the CEO got fired because he put a lot of good deals together, but none of those deals generated revenue.
Not the company, the clearinghouse for their stocks, right? Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Right.
It's a little bit facetious, but correct.
So, Patrick, you're down in California. We saw about 5% less capital investment than other legal states, and I think that's obviously because people wanted to be on the sidelines until like recently. Right now, there's still some temporary licenses versus permanent licensing, and so it's kind of interesting. I'm wondering if Patrick, you're seeing more Canadian capital or U.S.-based companies expanding?
Definitely Canadian. I feel like somebody calls me about it every single day. It's where we're seeing, I mean, personally, I'm seeing more Canadian money entering the equation than anything else. I mean, mostly because they're allowed to, and there's a lot of Canadian holding companies that want to invest. There's a lot of Canadian companies that want to buy up as much as they can down here and then trade it in Toronto, even though you can't here because it's legal to do it there. It's becoming, I mean, something that we hear about every single place that we go. We were just at the National Cannabis Industry Association Association in San Jose. Half of the investors I talked to were probably Canadian. We immediately went to the Cannabis Drinks Expo in San Francisco. Again, it was, at that one, it was probably more Canadian investors than anything else. And then even in Miami, we went down there for the USA CBD Expo last week. And again, there we talked to more Canadian holding corporations and Canadian investment groups and Canadian investment advisors than anything else. I really started to wonder about that myself about a year ago, because we were getting so many calls from there. And then the more we learned about it, the more sense it made. I don't know that it's necessarily more in California, just because Bob might know more as far as Colorado goes, but everywhere that we go, we are approached by Canadian investment groups wanting to get into the game or wanting to expand the game and wanting to buy up as many aspects of it as they can. They want to get into extraction. They want to get into technology. They wanted to get into anything ancillary. But because they can invest in THC and CBD in every single state if they want to, and then take all that money back to Canada, it's such a popular option that we don't have the ability to do here. And it seems like it's just growing and growing, and that's happening more and more every single day. I already talked to somebody else about it today. Somebody called wanting to know if we'd like to do a conference call, talk to some Canadian investors. Do we have anything to send their way? Can we recommend any buys for them? Is anybody that we know looking to sell? And it's just exponentially becoming more and more.
I'm definitely seeing a lot of Canadian companies coming down into the U.S. via California and wanting to file U.S.-based over-the-counter OTC IPOs. And so it's very interesting that they're definitely coming by the droves right now. Dan, what are you seeing? Is it more U.S.-based or Canadian?
Well, it's all Canadian, realistically. Just because they can raise capital from around the world and invest. Canada is perhaps the market size of California. The United States is, the market to be in. And so they have the real edge right now in coming down with capital. I mean, we talk to every once in a while some private family firms, private capital in the States, but by far most of the conversations, 90% of them are Canadian.
Bob, what are you seeing?
A little bit of both, right? There are multi-state operators here that are, publicly traded on the CSE, right? So it's kind of a mix, right? Do I consider them Canadian companies? No, but they're traded on the CSE, right? Even though they're stationed here in the U.S. So, Colorado is just getting to the point where we've changed some rules and regulations around investment dollars here, which I think will help open up the Colorado market. Kind of similar to Washington. When the regulators put the rules in place way back when, almost 10 years ago, we were the first, so we were kind of over-regulated, right? They were so concerned about illegal money flooding into this market that they made it virtually impossible to get any money. And we've been struggling with that for 10 years now. So that is going to change here at the end of 2019 in Colorado. We've put some rules in place where we can now start to look at taking institutional money, going public, rolling up under public companies. So I definitely think that's going to help us as a state, right? It's been difficult. And I tell people it's this weird kind of inverse relationship. The bigger you get, the less you have, right? And it's harder and harder and harder to keep feeding the beast, because we're still growing, and it's so hard to expand here in the state and expand nationally without access to capital. It's probably one of the most difficult things we've faced, and we're finally getting an opportunity to address it.
So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. I want to thank my guests. We have Bob Eschino with Incredibles. Also remotely is Patrick Ian Moore with Edibles List and Edibles Magazine. And also here is Dan Devlin with Zoots. Congratulations on the recent acquisition, by the way.
Thanks a lot for having us on and ability to talk about what we love, edibles.
So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't. And I'm out.